It's Watercolor Wednesday, and today I'd like to talk a bit about practicing with different kinds of paper. I'm not sure if you know this, but my watercolor lettering collection has a practice pad. The practice pad is grid paper. It is heavyweight. It's not your typical grid paper that I have in my other line for brush lettering. And what's nice is you actually don't have to practice on expensive watercolor papers. So let's just, I'll show you what I mean. Grab my lettering brush, and this is my size 2. Let's take a nice bright color. So let's just go into this red. I should add water into this palette, but I'll just pick up some paint on my brush, and on my grid paper I can simply follow the lines in terms of the size. Let's say I'm going to do paint the word create, and although it doesn't behave the same as the watercolor paper, what you will find is that you can still practice in a very effective way, much cheaper, by the way, than if you were to use watercolor paper. So I just wanted to remind you about this fact, and from here I will go on to my watercolor paper to practice, because you can use the grid paper, this heavyweight grid paper, and practice with the paint, with the watercolor inks, and it'll totally work out great. So now let's say I take my piece of watercolor paper. This is my Canson watercolor paper. It's fairly cheap, so I can practice with it. But don't use the blank paper. Like I say with my brush lettering, use lines. And of course there's no lines on this paper, so make some lines. Here I'll just use the width of the ruler, and we'll paint the same word. And you don't have to follow the lines exactly. I'm actually going to add some ink into this. Let's do red and orange and yellow. I'll grab a little bit more of the red ink. This is the poppy, and put a couple of drops in there. And then the orange is here, and I will put a couple of drops in here. Now I will grab my pipette and my jar of water, and I will take a few drops of water. These inks are concentrated. I'm going to dilute them, and then I will paint. Let's paint with red and orange and kind of make a really pretty blended lettering with this. So I have a little bit of lint on my brush. Let me get that off. Let's start with the C, just like we were doing. I'm going to make mine bigger than this, so as long as I have lines, that's what's important. I'll do the E. I'm going to do a lowercase e. We'll try a couple of different versions of this. I'm going to keep this red here. You can see the letters are touching each other. They don't have to though, but I like that, red, that look. And there we have this pretty word create. So let's paint it again and kind of change up the letters. I'll go right below it, or no, I'll go beside it where I have my lines. That's a better idea. So the C will keep kind of the same in the red ink. I'll put my ink here so you can watch me dip. And what's that? I don't know. So there's a C. Let's do a lowercase r like that. And let's do an uppercase E. Just for fun, just to, like I said, mix things up. A, put that A like that. T, I'll keep the similar T, and then again with the capital E. There. So like I said, I wanted to make the point of how to use the grid paper to practice and also to practice with lines on your watercolor paper. So thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next time.